Throughout time, people across the world told each other tales of how they came to be, of heroes and monsters, romance and tragedy, death and rebirth. Mythology helped shape the ancient world, explaining the unexplainable. This is Mythology Unleashed. Norse warriors were revered as some of the fiercest in all of recorded history. As such, they would invoke the power and blessing of a god whose courage and battle prowess were as stout as his shield, and whose tactical mind was as sharp as his blade. Enter Tyr, the Norse god of war, sworn oaths, and legal proceedings. Compared to other members of the Norse pantheon, Tyr is seldom discussed, even in the Prosetta and Poetic Edda. Even his parentage differs depending on the source. In most stories, such as in the Prosetta, Tyr is said to be the son of Odin, the king of the Aesir gods, whereas in the Poetic Edda, he is said to be the son of the Jotun Hymir. As for who his mother is, that remains lost to history, though some theories to her identity persist. As the Aesir god of war, Tyr is reputed as an excellent warrior, perhaps the most skilled combatant among the Norse gods. But unlike war gods of other cultures, such as Ares from Greek mythology, who is said to be ruthless and bloodthirsty, Tyr was of a different sort. In addition to being a god of war, Tyr resided over law and justice. He was never one to immediately solve problems with his sword, preferring to use reason over force. But when danger would arise, it was more than common to see Tyr on the front lines, sword in hand. Admittedly, much of these descriptions of Tyr stem from brief mentions of him found within the sagas. Despite Tyr's reverence, he does not appear in many stories of Norse mythology when compared to other gods such as Odin, Thor, or Loki. He first appeared in the Hymiskvitha, which concerned Thor's search for a fabled kettle, one large enough to brew prodigious quantities of ale. Tyr claimed that the kettle was in the possession of the giant Hymir, so the two gods traveled to Hymir's home, and found that the giant was away. However, Hymir's mother was there, and urged them to hide, lest they incur Hymir's wrath. The gods followed her advice, and took refuge in one of Hymir's monstrous kettles. When Hymir finally arrived, he smashed the pillar where Tyr and Thor were hiding. The kettles were scattered instantly, and the gods found themselves exposed. Hymir grew fearful at the sight of the mighty Thor, and called for 3 oxen to be cooked for his guests. Thor ate 2, and took the other as bait, claiming he would use it when he went out fishing with Tyr the next day. Bizarrely enough, Tyr disappears from the story at this point, and the focus shifts to Thor. Tyr's most prominent moment in Norse myth is his involvement in the restraining of Fenrir, the vicious wolf spawned from Loki and H.A.Guerber. The monster kept growing in size at an alarming rate. The gods tried to bind him, but Fenrir was so strong he shattered even the most durable of chains, prompting the gods to commission the dwarves to craft an unbreakable tether. They crafted a magical ribbon called Gleipnir, fashioned from the sound of a cat's footfall, the beard of a woman, the roots of a mountain, the sinew of a bear, the breath of a fish, and the saliva of a bird. When the gods presented the wolf with the seemingly fragile tether, he grew suspicious. He refused to submit unless one of the Aesir placed their hand in his mouth as a means of insurance. Tyr was the only one among the gathering who was brave enough to place his right hand in the wolf's mouth. When the ribbon was bound, Fenrir found that he could not break this magical tether, and was enraged. In anger and revenge, Fenrir chomped down hard, and bit off Tyr's hand. And so, thanks to Tyr's courage and sacrifice, Fenrir remained bound to the mystical ribbon until the end of days, Ragnarok, when all the gods, Tyr included, would die in battle. It is said in the Battle of Ragnarok, Tyr will die in combat against another vicious wolf, Garm, the guard dog of Hell. But Tyr will not die without killing Garm in return. While not the only warrior god of Norse mythology, Tyr stands out among other war gods of mythology in that he preferred to utilize brain over brawn. Yet during times of quarrel and combat, Tyr showed no measure of fear, showcased when he was the only one of a steadfast gathering of Norse gods brave enough to place his hand in the mouth of a monster. And that courage will last to the end of days when he faces Garm. Though he appears less frequently than the likes of Thor or Odin, Tyr was still one of the most revered Norse gods, invoked during times of war for valor, times of trial for justice, and times of strife for courage.